Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM24 Youth Factory, episode 41. As we prepare for a new season, as always, we check in on the growth of the reputation within the club. And, of course, now that we're at a high enough level, paying a little more attention to the reputation of the clubs around us. Beginning, of course, at the highest level, Chelsea is on top. They have the highest reputation of any club in the nation. Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, Man United, Leeds United, and Newcastle United are all considered worldwide reputation. Now, the weird thing about FM and why they have not resolved this, the reality versus the game. In the real world, Manchester United has struggled but very much have a worldwide reputation. That makes sense. In the game, it's the same thing more often than not. They are rarely, very rarely, when you see content regarding FM, Man United struggles in 95%. They are rarely a team that makes it. Yet Chelsea, in probably 85 to 90% of all the content that I have seen in Football Manager, Chelsea ends up right at the top with Man City. And it's the two of them. It's a two-horse race every freaking time. Yet in the real world, Chelsea is absolute garbage. They have gone through more managers than any other club by a significant margin. They have gone through more players than any other club by a significant margin. And they can't even crack the top half, or certainly can't crack the top positions. Champions League, Europa League kind of positions. They're terrible, and they have no clue what they're doing, and they are significantly worse in every respect than a Manchester United in direct comparison, let alone ones that do it on smaller budgets and better, like, say, Arsenal and Tottenham. And yet, every freaking time, it's Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. On down the list, let's find ourselves. Alright, we're into League One territory. Our new territory. Luton, apparently, is a League One side with a growing reputation. They've gone from 2.5 to 3 stars, and they are the gap, they are the bridge between a 2.5 and 3-star reputation and being national. And you get about halfway down the League One sides, where we then have a transition between a national and a regional reputation. 2.5 stars still, but only for the next 4 before we get down to 2-star territory. 2-star territory, regional reputation, and we're already getting into the League 2 sides. Remaining League 1 sides. There's Cambridge, there's Carlisle, there's Notts County. Boreham Wood comes in quite a bit lower, and we really have your bulk of League 2 sides by this point in that 2-star range. Mansfield, who, like in real life, are a promotion side. For them, they're League 2 heading towards League 1 most likely, with a handful of matches left in the real life season, is the first National League side to show up. Sutton, Fleetwood. So we are already breaking into National League, right? We've gone through all of League 1. We've now gone through League 2, seemingly all of, and we're into National League. Still haven't found ourselves yet. Still haven't found us. That's a little bit worrying. This is the worst we've been lagging behind in quite some time. So there's a few National League sides before we get another League 2. We have our first National League North side in Morecambe. So we're down to the 6th tier before we even get to us, and we are headed to the 3rd tier for the coming season. We were in the 4th tier this last season, and we still haven't built enough of a reputation. We also transitioned from 2 stars to 1.5 and regional, still out Southend United. Yeovil, who just finished dead last in Skybet League 2 and are headed back down to the National League. fit into the National League territory. We do come in only one National League North side ahead of us, and, well, that's a dropping reputation, so no, they're not bouncing back up. We are dead last in League Two. We're not behind everybody by a significant margin. There's a couple sides that are down in our territory, our region of these rankings, but we're miles behind all of League One. It's just a year ago that we went from 1 to 1.5 stars. We've gone from local to regional. So we do have a regional reputation now. The 2-star territory isn't that far above us. But playing in League One in the coming season, with the reputation that we have, in theory, we could be dead last in the league and see our reputation grow because of the reputation of the league that we play in versus our reputation should bring us up. We could take 0 points and, in theory, have our reputation improve simply because of the level of the competition, the level of the opposition, match by match, versus our reputation. Now, if we're losing, 8-0, well, okay, that's different. But if every game is lose by 1 or 2 goals all season long, theoretically should see our reputation improve. What we're looking at now is, and I guess last season we did just crack the 1.5 star range. That zone begins at Dulwich Hamlet. That's how far we moved up. We moved up ahead of half of one tier, one division. So in theory, League One, you move up another half. That gets us up to, we should break into 2-star territory. But of course, now we're playing in League One. And again, it should see a stronger boost than that. I would think we should get up around Mansfield and Solihull Moors by the end of the coming season. But I do think there's a good chance that we are going to stall out for a little bit in League One. And if it takes us a couple of years, then by the second year, you actually catch the bottom end of League One. But of course, stalling out means you're still not going to gain as much reputation as you would if you are winning regularly. But if we're just missing the playoff zone or hit the playoff zone and just fail to get promoted type thing, we should see a pretty healthy boost. And I would definitely think we should reach 2 stars this year. And, that reputation is certainly growing more rapidly. And again, that is a lot to do with the fact of the reputation of the league that we play in, therefore reputation of our opposition. But it kind of sucks to see that we haven't even caught the tail end of League Two, even though we just finished second in League Two and are headed towards League One. But that League One part is going to give us a pretty healthy boost. Down in our youth ranks, some of our best players are all about to have expiring contracts, and I'm letting it happen for a key reason. We're heading to League One, and the competition level is such. It dictates that we have to have a certain level of quality. And guys that have been keeping around because they did have a certain level of quality good enough to play on the senior squad when we were National League, and maybe, just maybe, at League Two. They just don't have it to be League One caliber, to even hang in League One. So we begin with, in our U18s, we have 2 expiring 18-year-olds that are good. They're the best ones here. They have an 81 current ability, both of them. But their potential is a 90 and an 86, meaning they're pretty much at their potential. Getting the final point, getting over the top to make an 81 into a 90, is damn near impossible to get unless you're at necessarily the literal highest level of the game. And so these guys are about as good as they're ever going to be. And where that 81 is good for National League. It's just fine. They could easily hang. League 2 and 81 doesn't really mesh well, even off the bench. But League by the time you get to League 1, there's no way that is good enough. So we've got to let them go because they simply can't get better. While they can give us something, it's not enough for the level we're heading to, and I have no intention of us going back down. And even then, we're now hampered by FFP, and those kind of limitations that it places on us. So that's 2. For our U21s, well, that begins here with Peacock and all of the guys above him. This is 7 additional expiring contracts. And where the current ability is not necessarily the same, I mean, there's a 78 and a 75, the potential ability has the same complication. 83, a 92 is the best of the entire set of 7. In fact, the 85, 92 is the best of the entire group. But then looking at the age, the entire group, at least by some point next year, is going to be in that 21 plus range, meaning they count towards FFP. And some of them, they're already making 20 to 30 grand a year. That's not much money. Okay, grand scheme of things, that's hard to live on. It's really hard to live on, depending on the nation that you're in. And I can't speak exactly on what it would cost to live in Cornwall. But I would imagine that that's not really enough. If you have living arrangements that involve, hey, your roommate is Anderson and Mawson and you share a flat together, then you might just about make it. And, the club provides you food during training sessions and things of that nature, so you're not spending as much. Anyway, that's 9 players. 9 players that we are parting ways with, getting a little FFP boost. Some of them were already of that age, so about 50K coming off the books. But then at the senior level, there are 4 contracts right now also that are set to come off the books. And here's how this one's gonna go, player by player. So Matty Baker is, it's time to let him go. I mean, Matty Baker is 82, 89, falls into that same category, into that same territory, where all those other guys, there was a good, 3, 4 of them that are in that about 80 plus territory, like Matty Baker is. They all got there this season. Matty Baker's been there for a couple of years. And he did get into the side. And he did play for us. And then there was this season and League 2, and here's that perfect example. 1 start, 3 appearances off the bench, 6.55 rating, 6.5. Clearly not good enough. Clearly not good enough for this level. And that's why he's gone. Now, meanwhile, Koulibaly in 87 overall and growing. We're not letting him go. While we were dealing with FFP, we're going to trigger the minimum security on him. He signed a deal with another club in January, but he's definitely our reserve goalkeeper, and we have definitely not finished with him. Now, his potential is only a 111. It's not high, but as a reserve player, if he can get to that 100 plus, I think he can hang at the level. Wilkinson is our longtime minimum security guy, so was Atkins for that matter, that kept having the rolling contracts because they wanted out, and they said that they were going to try out free agency. And then you get to the end of the year, day before they go to expire, and oops, we add 1 more year to it. But it continues to be on the I'm letting my contract expire thing. So a whole year later, and the same thing happens, and the same thing happens. Now, Atkins kept getting increases because he had a clause in his salary about matching the highest earner. Atkins, we're going to let go. We're going to save that $600K. We're going to be well under FFP, sacrificing a guy who used to be a great starter, now, comparatively, is the equivalent of a bench player and shouldn't be starting anymore. But Wilkinson still has that quality. In fact, he's a 122, 142. He's one of our best players. He has eclipsed Lanahan Penreese. We want to keep him around. What we're going to do is I'm going to bump him to, I don't know, 80K. Give him a healthy boost. That's still probably less than he deserves. Still quite a bit. But we'll give him 80K. We'll give him 1 year. But then I'm going to go ahead and clear that whole I'm leaving at the end of the year stuff. So that he's got a legit contract that expires in a year. And we'll have a chance to then try to negotiate and keep him around and make him a legit part of the squad, as opposed to this cheesed, cheap, affordable contract. One good thing about the promotion is as we move up, TV deals start to get legit. Wow, we're not quite there yet. We're getting 500,000 for the coming season from TV rights in League One. And that's definitely a boost to our income. But with our intake this year, we took, I don't know, 10, 11 players. We have 11 that are expiring and leaving, and we've already let go. Gosh, how many was it with the FFP? 3? 4? It was 4 players that we already let go. Kasunga, Matumbo, Thornhill, Mortland, Kitching. So that's going to be 15 out. 11, I think, in. So it's already -4 on the squad size. Additionally, we have the drama surrounding Paul Davidson and his impending departure. We're getting lots of offers in, and healthy offers. I mean, we're talking $3.5 million up front and eventual deals that could equal about $6 to $6.5 million. But what I have not been able to get to this point is a loan back for the coming season. I'd like to have one more year with him. Not a huge thing. I'm already kind of expecting that we're going to be stalling at League One for a season. I'd like to have it. I have a feeling that it's going to be concluded business before we ever get to the first match of the season. It could be concluded anytime now. And for all I know, that's not going to be the end of our deals in this transfer window. We very well could have more. I've made it pretty clear by now that my expectations are low for the upcoming season, but the media's expectations are significantly lower. They have us predicted to finish in 19th for the coming season, and that's with Atkins. That's with Davidson, who we're not going to be having. So, are we in for a relegation battle? I doubt it. I think they are undervaluing us. I think they are undervaluing the growth we should expect to see from the squad over the course of the season. But I do think it absolutely confirms my fears of, we're not going to be very good in the coming season. It's going to take some time to get through, up, and out of League One. All right, I'm finally ready to accept an offer for Luton, from Luton for Davidson. We're looking at, with installments, we're looking at $4.5 million, an eventual $6 after he's had 20 league appearances, and this is with 50% percentage of next sale without a loan back. Let's hope that more offers start to come in once this has been established, and that we can then go and demand more. Davidson, by the way, does not cost us anything as a 20-year-old striker, but he'll turn 21 and count towards FFP soon enough, and he's certainly not a cheap one. But this is really about the simple reality that he is dead set on playing at a higher level, even though we are playing at a higher level already. League One. He wants to go to the championship. Ooh, 1 tier higher. I get it, though. It's his path towards the Premier League. Our new FFP regulations entering the new year. Our maximum allowed is 2.5 million. We are now currently spending 1.5, but we're going to have a lot of contract negotiations coming up, but that's given us a lot of ground to work with. And here is how we're looking at the moment with our roster. Now, of course, Adekunle gets back into the squad, coming back from his season-ending injury, and Davidson is probably leaving us here soon. Does that mean Adekunle is the one who moves to the top, with Lanahan Penreese on the right wing, Wilkinson on the left? I'll have to look at Lanahan Penreese and Adekunle to see who's a better fit in that striker position. That seems the natural way to do it. That gets Wilkinson into your everyday lineup where he belongs, and we'll have to find Phil Hewitt's already kind of that young reserve who's up and coming, as opposed to having to make him into a starter when he's got fairly limited potential, kind of as it is. They are almost identical players to each other, with Adekunle being a little bit better than Lanahan Penreese. So where do we want that little bit better to be? Do we want it on top to try to convert goals, or do we want it out on the wing to create and facilitate an offense and create goals? I think one of the big things to watch out for is who's a better finisher. and who's going to be better kind of getting on the end of things. Speed might be better on the wing, and Adekunle clearly has an advantage in those regards. He's got the better physical attributes, but what about the mental? There's a lot that can be said for either player, but the few things that I'm kind of looking at as a key is much better pace for Adekunle is going to really help him on the wing, where Lanahan Penreese is lacking a little bit in that department. He's got a little bit better strength, though, barely. They both have a lot of good mental attributes. Similar flair. Decision making's a little bit better for Lanahan Penreese, which translates and helps translate towards shot selection. Vision is better for Adekunle. That's going to be better for finding the right pass when you need it. And then getting into these later areas, finishing is almost the same. But one thing that definitely stands out to me is better dribbling and crossing for Adekunle. So a little bit better as a winger than Lanahan Penreese. And Lanahan Penreese has a lot of the same sort of attributes on how they would perform in front of goal, with one or two things that kind of lead me to go, well, okay, we'll put Lanahan Penreese on top. This year we're starting to train a new tactic, not to be used regularly. This is a late game tactic, 70th minute and or beyond, more like 80th minute and beyond, a way to try to hang on to a game, to get more into a low block, get defensive, get numbers behind the ball, get extra support. Essentially a 5-2-3 in reality. So you got a few guys left on top to cover it, but you're getting a lot behind the ball. This drops Archie Jones down, which means he's going to have to either sub out for a defender and keep Sam Lyons up, or Lyons can push down and you sub out Jones. Either way, it's a sub out Jones type of formation late in the game. Also looks like this season we're going to be making a transition from Charlton Redknapp at right back / right wing back to Ashley Potter. I've been waiting on this one for a while, setting this one up for a while, and they are now level in terms of current ability, which makes me think Potter's going to take off and go much further. He's got a fairly higher potential compared to Redknapp, and it's taken Redknapp years to get to where he's at. He's been the starter for 6, 7, 8 years for us, and is still only that good. Ashley Potter came in last season. I need to look at his numbers, but he didn't have that many appearances, maybe 6, 7 appearances, and is already caught up to Redknapp. So starter potential, maybe even from the start of the season, give him the chance to grow into the role. He's behind in certain ways. Jumping reach for one, Redknapp's going to be much better with headers, but his actual heading rating is only a 5, and Potter's an 8. So bit of a trade-off there. The jumping reach, though, is significantly different. Huge gap between the pair. But physically, otherwise, Potter's slightly ahead already. Mental, though, Redknapp has a huge advantage, and that's the age factor. But with the work rate, the teamwork, the decision-making already being good, the determination's good, the aggression, I can see Potter quickly catching Redknapp, overtaking Redknapp, and he's already ahead in many technical attributes. Marking is the one area where he's lagging behind a little bit, and that's one of the only worrying ones. New look to our youth teams, and we are sitting on just 15 players now at the U18s. Really thinned out. There's only 4 of them that are currently 17 years of age, and couple low current ability, but then it jumps to 46 to 66 for their range. For the U21s, it's identical in that we have 15 players here. 45 at least as a base point, but after you get through, well, actually no, it's a pretty even range down there. The top end has a little bit more going on, and I think kind of for the first time our U21s is looking a bit stronger than our U18s, and part of that is the inclusion of some young players like Steve Walker, who's just 15 and from the latest intake already getting bumped to the U21s to start the new season. We've got James Spong at just 17, Lee Kelly at just 17 getting bumped up. So that's a few players coming up out of the U18s early to fill spots in the U21s, because if you remember, I just let 2 U18s go, but I let 7 U21 players go. So there's a lot of holes to fill on that one. Jack Barlow at a 75-100 is going to be a very early candidate, or Mike Spender at 67-125 will be an early candidate, or Shaq Ellison. Any one of those 3 are going to be early candidates to take a spot away from Omar Kamara with his 85-99. Really about as good as he's ever going to get, replacement level to bump him down, but as those guys are just not quite there yet, we'll keep Kamara around. We are going to need at least some quality within the squad if we are going to be that close to the relegation zone. We definitely don't want to give it all in, early on. But with Davidson out and Adekunle at right wing, Lanahan Penreese on top, that is the look of the squad for now. Sam Lyons is the low man coming on. Daniel McCartney was also in that role, but he got injured, and I think he'll fill in a little bit quicker, easier. Ashley Potter taking over for Redknapp in my eyes, so we can get him to develop again. He's got plus 21 in terms of potential, and is much younger. And it took Redknapp 6-7 years as a starter, as I was saying. Rossini and Hewitt definitely come in as our best reserves for the coming season. They'll be the most frequently used off the bench. And the only one who's not training well is Paul Davidson. No surprise, because he wants out. But Wilkinson's already getting upset, so he's of a similar profile of pretty good, has a bit more to offer, is at a young age, and is suspect to getting picked up by pretty much anybody else. In fact, our whole top end, Chris Webb, McFadden are the only older players, along with Redknapp. Everybody else is 23 or younger. Lanahan Penreese, the only one at 23. Wilkinson at 22. It's a very young squad. We've let go of a lot of the older players. That's also why the FFP is quite easy to manage these days. But if we're going to always stay young, it's going to be hard to get much going. We'll see how things develop with coming season. There's plenty of new faces that we pulled up from either the U18s or the U21s late last season. And we're going to close out this off-season episode with the exit of Paul Davidson heading to Luton Town. $4.5 million, aka $6 million on the eventual side. It's good for us, the money that we're bringing in for it. But we saw this coming. We definitely saw this coming. It was only a matter of time. So hurts to lose him. For one, he's still 20, so he wasn't hurting us on FFP yet. The quality, obvious. It's going to be a loss. It's a much bigger loss than Atkins. Atkins was like a 94. He was 113-ish. It hurts. But that's going to do it for this episode, and we head into the season as a potential relegation team. I don't know about that, but let's fingers crossed that we're at least a mid-table type team, huh? I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.